All right, everybody. Happy Halloween and welcome back to Leading Crypto. My name is CVO, always joined by the lovely Magic Internet Money. Today, we've got a brand new face to join our team. He is a analyst inside Leading Crypto Discord server. This is Burr Max coming to you live from Dubai, aka the Vape God himself. And today, we have a pretty good update for you, right? So we're going into a pretty major week. We've got Bitcoin coming into the entire market, obviously coming into the monthly close. We've got the FOMC meeting in a few days. We've got a major fib time coming. In the video today, we're going to cover the S&P 500. We're going to touch back on Facebook and Amazon, aka Meta for Facebook, that we touched on Friday, and a slew of altcoins. We're going to cover Ethereum, Solana, Chainlink, Doge, and a couple of others here. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to like, subscribe, pay attention, and stick around with us to the end of the video. And the most important question of the day goes to the man in the bucket hat. Magic, how you doing today, sir?
Doing good. Sorry, I'm smashing my breakfast, guys. I was running a little behind this morning after the workout and the dog walk.
But dude, gotta get your Wheaties in, man.
Oh man, you guys don't like it when I'm hangry. So all right, guys, let's just go ahead and look at the chart. You know, Bitcoin is doing some stuff, so Max is going to have quite a bit to talk about here in a second, which is good. It's a nice eventful stream for him. First things first, we've talked about this. The SPX coming into major resistance here. Took the previous day highs right here. Okay, you can see your local highs. Took those into the edge of the gold pocket, just underneath our 2-year key level. So right into our box here, and you are seeing an open lower. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that you shouldn't be longing into resistance. That's like rule number one of any kind of trading. And the same with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, we had talked about this potential harmonic right here, the butterfly, which did play out to the B leg very, very nicely. But one thing we had discussed previously in the group live streams was that the timing of it is really letting you know that you might swing fail the high, which we alluded to on the last stream where we said, don't get trapped at the edge of the gold pocket if Bitcoin decides to attempt to make a new high right here. So that's exactly what it did. And you are now coming back to the weekly pivots, high time frame averages, local golden pocket, and this local value area low. So what you want to see is you want to see Bitcoin living back above right around 20,400, which was a daily naked point of control that we just filled in. If that's the case, we might look for that rotation back into probably like some session targets. The POC coming in at where the 12M1 right there. So you do have some action going on here. So potential trades, but nothing out of the ordinary for Bitcoin. If it holds this higher low, to me, that would actually look a little more bullish since we've already tapped the NPOC up here and tapped into this gold pocket. So this was a major target for us last night and front running this one this morning. So business as usual. If we get a turnaround from here, you know, if the SPX isn't turning around on the day, because a lot of times with this asset, it'll open up down and then completely reverse that by middle of morning in the New York session. So trapping anyone that was just content that they were going to get a great short or FOMO short. But you are still locally downtrending. The trend has not changed. The trend is still down until it's not, guys. If this is going to have any kind of a further retrace, I don't do any day trading on this, but I can tell you just from a structural standpoint that you really don't want to be losing the Q3 in 2021 open here between 37.81 and 37.64. Flipping that into resistance, you can see what happens. You challenge your lows. Anytime that you are losing this level, you're going down to 36.62 at a minimum, and that would transpire into Bitcoin traveling lower as well. And the all-important pivot is going to be 20K still. That is your overall point of control for the range right now. If you were to pull it up on like ATAS, if you pull it up on TradingView, not so much, but 20K, super important. And the level you need to be aware of to the downside is going to be, I call it a caveman level. It's also your TPO POC right around 19,150. I have 19,169 and 19,127, mainly because that is your previous week low. So you've got a local gold pocket there as well if you find that entry, and you would be looking at this as an opportunity in the sense that if this zone is held, you've got a great chance at a swing failure pattern. That's only if it's reached. You just have to plan for this trade, set your alert, and you take the trade on strength back above the level. That would be the acceptable risk management entry for me. Otherwise, I'm looking at this zone with a lot of interest. I'll cover Amazon and Meta after, but I'm going to let Max jump into the order flow a little bit so that we're keeping everything concise here on Bitcoin. And I think he even wanted to touch on the DXY potentially because he said they were putting in a lower high potentially there. So
I was muted. Start again. Okay, so let me pop my screen up here. There we go. So I'm going to go over what we went over last night in the members update. I gave 2 possible trades. We had the daily, which was untapped, the naked point control, and the golden pocket from this region. Now that hit earlier, just before we went live in our live trading session. Now I'm going to go into why you can look in the order flow for this particular trade and how you could have known that it was going to play out. And then we're going to go into look for this second box and see whether it's giving us anything right now as we speak. So let me jump over to EXO. So the morning was pretty slow. The only way that I took one long just after the stream when we took the previous day low. It was about here. And then I actually got out for a very minor profit just above the VWAP as we looked like we were going to lose it, because we looked like we were going to lose it as you had a ton of longs entered just as we broke through it, but then price started to put them underwater. And when longs get put underwater, they tend to get flushed out. So that's why I jumped out of the trade for a minor profit, because I could see where it was going. And then we had a very minor swing failure pattern here. Order flow didn't really give you anything, but you could see from trading view, we did just take the lows. Then the move up. Now, this is the reason why you knew this was going to be a good short from the area that we gave earlier in the day. The reason being is, well, in the move up, the volume was meh. It really wasn't anything special to talk about, considering how far you'd moved up. You moved up like 2%. So you'd expect much more volume than what came in. The open interest also wasn't giving you anything. But most of the moves up, when you have a move up, you really want to see buyers coming into the market to push you up higher. Whereas we started the move off as expected on a short squeeze, but then you never really had enough buyers to come in to hold the position, because when the buyers come in, that's when you've got a level of support for when you come back to trace to that region. We never had that in the move up. In fact, what we had was right at the top as we tapped the box and the untapped daily, we had possible this area here, which you can spot. That is 371K of open interest in a 5-minute candle. 9.9 million in that candle overall, and a total delta for that for a positive 3.3 million. So how you can identify from this candle just here that something's going on and it's a possible short is the fact that the open interest doesn't really match with the delta or the volume of that. What it shows is that, and the fact you've got these green dots here, which I don't know if you guys can spot, but there's some minor green dots here. They are liquidations taking place. Now, when you see liquidations, you expect open interest to decrease, but it didn't. In fact, it stayed, I always say in the group, it stayed stagnant, which means its position's changing hands. So we can spot here, there's shorts getting squeezed out and their positions aren't just, leaving the market. Someone else, another party is taking over their positions, possibly the market maker, which is what would lead. Then that's how you have to think about it. Okay, let's say the market maker is building a short here because they push the price up to fill a short. And by spotting the fact that positions are changing hands, that allows you to identify and also the fact that the trend was weak up, but the stagnant open interest, positions changing hands, and the rejection, you had selling imbalances pushing you away. A lot of selling came in this candle, 1.6 million there, 3.2 million negative delta. So there's a lot of selling taking place in the rejection. It just signals that, it's a valid short and you've got your entry triggers, and it certainly played out. Then we kind of dawdled about, volume dropped off the map. And then just here, you were starting to get if I make this bigger, this is CVD, which is cumulative volume delta. You can spot here that we actually had a lot of absorption taking place as buyers were trying to come into the market. Here you had I say buyers, it was 1.2. So that shows you that, again, and the fact that it was stagnant open interest again shows you that, okay, a lot of shorts exiting, but then their positions aren't effectively closing. They're just being taken on by someone else. And it gave you an absorption. It gave you a CVD trade where you can see absorption taking place on the long side. And then it just played out to the downside. So that was you had two methods there to get into that short had you been looking for it. Now, where we are now in the second box, are we getting a reason to enter a long? Well, right now you've had a huge sell-off, decreases in open interest. It's interesting the fact it's only negative 2.4 in a $42 million candle with 17 million negative delta. That is certainly interesting, and a case could certainly be made for positions changing hands there to the long side, and the same again in this one, though not so much in this one due to the fact that it's only negative 5.8 million delta on that one. But certainly for the longer candle, if we can zoom in and look at where the real sell orders came in, we can kind of identify potentially where the position was built. And it looks like it's all below this level, which is one I drew earlier. And it's actually the low from the Asia low. So we can trade it as a sweeping the Asia lows effectively. The fact we've come into the daily, we actually do have as well, if we zoom in this candle here, you can see, which is absurd to be honest with you, but you have 2.2 million increase in open interest, negative 2.6 million delta. So if we do reclaim this 20,425 level, these people here, these are people that have entered short in the box where one could be expecting a bounce. Absurd, but that's just how the market goes. The price goes down, people think short at support, and then they get squeezed out. So the fact we've had positions possibly changing hands here, and the fact that you've got trapped traders here, all gear up to, if you can claim this level, it looks very good for a nice long. And how you would trade that is you would buy it in this region on your given entry trigger, whatever you decide that to be. But if you continue down, well, this gives these traders a chance to get out. So yeah, the conservative way to trade this is to wait for the Asia low, which is at 20,425 to be claimed, and then put your stop loss below the low. That is certainly a possibility looking at the current price action that's occurring here. But yeah, it's nice to see we have trapped shorts as well. I always love trading off trapped traders. It's one of the great things that order flow allows you to spot. So yeah, that's actually all I've got for this. The fact, of what's going on there. So Silvio, I'll hand it over to you now. Oh, actually, I'll go over Dixie.
Nice. Always a beautiful update from you, sir.
I'll go over Dixie quickly.
I don't know what was going on with Magic, but it looked like he had like a staircase under his desk a few times.
I sat down.
You were doing I swear to God, I felt like you were like doing them Austin Powers, Irish exit for a few times there.
I had the treadmill underneath my desk still from this morning, and I've already gotten like 15,000 steps on the day between that and some runs. So I'm looking to sit on my butt a little bit, test out the new chair. It finally came in, not broken. So
That's
have a
nice
nice.
I tuned into one of your streams last week, and it made me absolutely cry because all I could hear was it was on your.
Oh yeah. I asked him if it was too loud. And they said no. Yeah, they said it wasn't loud, so I said, "All right, we'll keep it going." So
I literally tuned in for 20 minutes, and I was just laughing my head off. But yeah, so quickly on the this, look how bullish it's been. So on the daily time frame here, it's just something I spotted earlier. It has been so bullish for so long, higher highs, higher lows, until now, and we officially have our first lower high and a first lower low. Now, obviously, it all changes if we get above these highs, but right now, there is certainly a possibility for Dixie to change its market structure, which could mean we can actually eat turkey for Christmas. Or you guys eat, what do you guys eat? You guys eat partridge, don't you, for Christmas? Because you eat turkey.
I don't even know what partridge is, man. But they eat like Christmas duck is like the traditional thing. I think is duck. But
duck.
Yeah,
blasphemy. Duck. We all have turkey. So if Dixie continues to drop, turkey for Christmas.
I actually don't eat turkey for Thanksgiving. I eat ramen noodles. I'm not gonna lie. I make homemade ramen, and it's delicious. So.
You invite the whole family around, yeah.
I don't do like the family thing. I never go anywhere. I'm not a big let's kumbaya.
I'm very thankful.
No, I'm not thankful for anything. You know me.
Yeah, that's literally all I wanted to go about. But so the area that I'm kind of watching and, well, not hoping, but looking for it to continue this mini downtrend that we've got going on the daily is the golden pocket. Clearly, it's moving up now. But yeah, I'm looking at that golden pocket to see if it rejects there. Now, if it does reject there, I think it is game on for further upside for us in the Bitcoin charts, because obviously it does certainly help when Dixie gets wrecked. And I would like it to be the turning point for the downtrend. Well, in this region anyway, because it's just been bullish for so long. It'd be nice to have a little turnaround on that one. So that's all I've actually got.
I've got a little bit on Dixie. I'll cover. It's a little bit of an opposing view, but it's not completely opposing. It's just a slightly different way of looking at it. We did cover this in an update actually in the group. So let me get my screen shared just to kind of give you guys some levels to work off of here, just because it's an easy chart. So this was the measured move of your range expansion done in logarithmic scale, because I'm just going off percentage base. So the percentage was 13.6%. You can see we've almost hit that to the T. Also completing a nice bearish bat, which was, technically hasn't fulfilled all of its targets. So it does imply you can make another leg up still. You've got a really nice consolidating channel here on the quarterly. But what you should be looking for is when you look at this candle, it's a 3-month candle. We can start diving into the month and we can say, okay, there's not much here on the month outside of maybe the monthly open to pay attention to at 112.17. That's from the previous month here. I guess technically not previous yet, but getting close to it. But you go down to the weekly, and I had marked this out in the group that we would expect to see this low taken. And the question would be, would we swing fail the low, which we have so far. So invalidation for Dixie going up or down really is going to hinge on 110.05. If you lose that, I think that there's a good chance you're looking down to 105, which would really give, risk on assets room to breathe. However, with an impending rate hike coming, I know people say you're pricing in a 75 basis point hike already. The markets are very efficient. That's actually not very true. Orders happen real time. So, they're going to react to not only what the Fed hikes the rates by, but the verbiage that's used, like, are they going to indicate that there could be a pivot? If that's the case, that'll affect future orders, meaning that people will be very bullish. Sometimes markets like to try to front run those, but at the end of the day, they're just guessing unless they have inside information, which is illegal. So, for me, looking at this, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, where I'd be looking up to like, what is this, 113.21, and then gold pocket, coming in right in that region as well, somewhere right here, and just basically saying that this would be the level of interest for me to the upside, which would imply that Bitcoin pulls back potentially. So we will be watching this 20,000, like $200 to $300 support, and then 20K ultimately will be the really determining factor on what Bitcoin's going to do here, because you did leave quite a few things down below, but that doesn't mean you have to go fill those inefficiencies right away. So that's really all I've got on DXY. Very simple.
Nice. You want to go ahead and touch on Amazon and Facebook Meta, and we'll move on.
Yeah, I've also got some fib time for you guys. I know we said we would
time.
do that, and I know that that's something that CBO wanted me to go over. Is that Bybit?
Cracks me up. Look, you in that bucket hat magic, it really cracks me up.
You like it? It's a good looking hat.
It's been said yet, has to be said.
It's pretty.
I keep looking down here, and I'm just pissing myself laughing on stream.
I got this hat for anyone that's wondering, from Crypto Chaos on TikTok. Guy out of Florida. I find his content very humorous. So I went ahead and supported the channel and bought a hat, and I'm wearing it on stream. So, and it suits the holiday. It's Halloween, so might as well. But yeah, fib time coming in. If you're just looking at this from, I guess we'd have to go to a different chart. We'll go out to the BLX. And we will just, essentially what you're going to do is work up exactly the length of time, because we've talked about this before. It was literally the exact amount of time from the previous low to this current high. Like, they were identical in November. So it's not saying that things have to play out the same again, but things do often rhyme, because as I've compared this to, is you're just pulling a rubber band. That's all you're doing. And markets don't change much in terms of fear and greed. So participants tend to act the same. That's why you get cycles that are very similar to each other. And that's why they work, is because it takes the same amount of time to distribute that level of greed as it would if, it happened before, because investor behavior of fear and greed rarely change, as there's always new participants, and it's based on human emotion. So you can see this is where we were looking for the low back in June. You can go back to Debate Crypto on like June 14th. We were calling for a low between June 20th all the way out to November, potentially. If there was going to be further downside, the 1-to-1 in time comes in in November. So we would be looking to Q4 to be really telling for us to see if there was going to be any kind of a shift to the upside or further downside. Now, this has been a very large consolidation. That doesn't mean that it's going to break up or down. All that's telling you is that just like this one right here, that if it does break to the upside or the downside, the move is likely to be very, very big. That's all you can do. It's just a formation at that point. It's a very large one. You've got a lot of built up positions here on either side of the coin. So November 7th is that day. Technically, I guess it's showing November 8th here, but right around the midterm elections, which I find very interesting because most people think that, the elections are inherently bullish or bearish. There's a lot of context that has to go into it. I don't think that they play as big a role. There are some theories out there I've heard other people say, and I think they could be correct, that markets like stability and they don't like unpredictableness. That's why you see risk-off assets that suffer the most. Risk-on assets suffer the most in times of instability. So if there's like a problem with policy, people aren't as apt to put their money into it. Like that's just the way the world works. That's the way smart money is. We refer to them as smart money, but we'll say people with lots of money. So what you're coming into is the potential of the Republicans taking over in the House and maybe balancing things out, because they will fight with Democrats trying to get anything done, meaning that there won't be any major shifts in policy for the remaining 2 years, which would allow for some stability in the markets potentially. So that's why, some people are speculating that the midterms would be bullish. That would be the, fundamental reason why orders would be affected, is because they would think that, well, they're just going to bicker with each other. No major policies are going to get changed. For us, this means stability in that realm. And that's a big realm for, we'll call them, investment firms, whatever you want to call it. So that would be the case there. However, I'm still holding on to my short from, 39K right back here as a hedge. There's been no reason to close it yet. So it is one of those where if Bitcoin decides to break this formation to the upside, I will not hold that. I'll probably likely close it just because I want to collect on the profits that are in there. And then we get to play the game again of, what direction are we going? And can I get on the right side of it in terms of a position, like a hedge long or short? But just kind of playing it conservatively right now. And really, it's not good in a market to be, I think the term is dogmatic about an approach, meaning you're married to an idea. You've really got to be flexible, especially as we're coming into times like this, where those who are certain of only one thing will be ultimately eventually be wrong. So we have to take what the market gives us and then make the best of it. It's the age old, life gives you lemons, that whole thing. So that's really all I've got on it for the BLX and like timing wise. You did say Meta and Amazon. So yeah, we can touch on this again. Not much has changed for me. So again, we talked about how we need to see the Q2 low here holding us support, but realistically getting it back above the Q3 open, which was your major support prior. If it's not seen, we get out a log scale, you can see that your overall macro gold pocket comes in quite a bit lower than where we're at, all the way down at like $72. There's a nice 3M there. And it would essentially be setting this up as a base of a larger range structure. So I wouldn't be looking for it to nuke through these levels by any means. I would just be looking for it to come back into this region. You've got your local low here and a local low here with the gold pocket and a very high time frame level. So for me on Amazon, until we see some kind of a strength out of the chart, I'm not really looking to get involved in this one. You can start your buying if you're like, I'm just a value investor, I think Amazon's the future still. Then you're looking at this and saying, well, this could be a great value, but you have to understand the risk that it can still come down to these levels just from a TA standpoint. And TA is not the end all be all, but neither are fundamentals. So sometimes it's good to merge the two of them. And then Meta didn't look great. Meta, as we all know, Meta looked terrible. And I'm sure no one knows that more than Mark Zuckerberg. But yeah, Meta coming down to the 786 here and really no reaction. So you've got people that are just in full panic, it seems like. Not a good thing for the asset, but you would be looking all the way down to potentially, I would mark this low here knowing the 886 is beneath us. This low at like, what is that, $72, give or take? Yeah, $72 right here. We'll just go ahead and mark it off, I guess, while we're here. I would mark this as a major local low, just because you can see this was a major rally. You've got a major local low here. You're getting no reaction off a lot of these supports, barely bounced at the gold pocket. And this is your macro gold pocket, all-time high to low. If you get a log scale, it's easier to see. And you can see that the log scale gold pocket does come in lower than this at like $57. But I do think that, if you take $72 here, you're looking to, even if it hits, like, let's say you want to play log scale, you don't want to play linear. I prefer linear in this case, but if you wanted to play log, this is, if you're a trader, this is the level that you want to get in on. You want to see that low reclaimed, and then you've got to push all the way back up to this, $128 mark potentially, and you can start to play a range. However, for me, looking at this, I don't catch falling knives. So it doesn't mean you can't DCA into positions or anything, especially if you think Facebook isn't going anywhere and you believe in the metaverse. But you do have to be aware that if, that scenario doesn't play, if reached, I should say, if we don't see any kind of recovery between now and the time it reaches this level, obviously that's the play. If it doesn't, then I think you could be looking for a full like 80% retrace, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. 80-90% all the way back down to the 12M at like $27, which is like, that's like doomsday, man. That's like, is Facebook going to be a thing? Is Elon about to put everybody out of business in the what's the space that they're in for personal information, I guess, like data, so to speak. But this shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone that Meta's in a really big downtrend, guys. Like, look at it on the monthly chart. Like, you've got nothing bullish going on here. There's nothing setting up for reversal. This has been just straight down. You can go out to the quarterly chart if you would like a further zoomed out chart. And you can see quarter after quarter after the peak here, when Bitcoin made its 28K low in July of 21, quarter red, 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 red. So eventually that will change, but you've taken these lows. So unless it recovers 128.56 for me, I'm not really interested in it until it starts hitting these major levels below. It's just I just don't blindly buy, I guess. That's just not something that I'm into. So that's all I've got on those guys. So if you guys want to hop on, or CVO, you can hop on to whatever you'd like as far as altcoins go.
Sounds good. We were talking about turkey and duck for Christmas, or ramen, I guess, depending if you're in the crypto market. But Nick Sells, I'm with you on the prime rib. I'm all prime rib all day, every day. And let's see here. Lola says pump the market before TG. I'm assuming that's either Telegram or Thanksgiving. Probably Thanksgiving. I don't know what Telegram.
Thanksgiving, man.
I was like Telegram. What does that mean? Okay, go in there and sell it all. Yeah. So what's very interesting too. I just want to point out about the fib times, right? Is that Magic does a very, very good job, obviously, of mapping out some of these times a long ways away. I think that you were looking at some of the major pivots in the market for this year, 2-3 years ago. Although it's public, it's been on his Twitter. Very, very impressive things. And 2 years, 3 years ago, we were not in a position where we had all these, constant FOMC. I mean, maybe we did, but it wasn't so, prevalent in the market where everybody was so, hyper focused on an FOMC or the Fed meeting or, whatever. It was just printing money back in the day and stimulus checks and whatever. Every single major fib time that is, occurred over the last year has always lined up almost to the exact day. It's either been a CPI data report, or it's a Fed date for an interest rate hike, or a couple of them actually aligned. And it's just interesting to note how some of the news and all this kind of like plays a role at the same time. A lot of people tend to throw in the manipulation term. One of the biggest ones though was back in I think it was March when we dropped down to 33K, right? And we had the altercation overseas where just once again, obviously nobody necessarily saw that coming, but that was the date, right? And it's just very, very interesting to see how those things correlate together. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out. Taking a look at Ethereum, though, I just kind of threw up some that if you've been following for quite some time, covered Ethereum, at exhaustion at these levels for a while, right? So just kind of taking off all the range data and everything like that. Just a few levels that personally I'm looking at as far as some major, key points short term here, right? So you still have that untapped daily down there at $1,031. We have the quarterly, which was untapped, and obviously now we've claimed that. at 1456, the untapped weekly at 1766, you got daily at 2054, and untapped monthly at 2200, the golden pocket upwards of about 2600. Question is right now, where are we hitting our head at right now, right? Because it just kind of looks like, if you're just looking left, you're running into really nothing. Essentially, you're coming in, you're making a lower high, right? Well, at the end of the day, we just rotated a high time frame range, right? So this is our overall quarterly right here. Just ran it from the point of control, literally up to the value area high. So coming in right at about 1653. Short term, obviously, you'd like to see that level claimed and then moving on upward. And for more upside, we really want to take out this untapped weekly. At the moment, however, you are, coming into resistance. You got Bitcoin coming into and actually pulling back a little bit right now. You got the Dixie, you're anticipating a possible, small move up, which once again indicates that, Bitcoin may take a pullback. We got the FOMC meeting coming in a few days, or we tend to get some whipsaw action, right? So it's very important to kind of have your levels marked out. So you're not chasing, what the move is when that day comes. But yeah, really, very possible to still kind of head down back towards this quarterly again, about 1456. We've got the quarterly VWAP lines just below that, about 1400. Obviously, the point of control, and then the same rules apply. If we lose this 12 to 21 region, the untapped daily would be that level to the downside, which also is your value or area low, aka your range low, coming in right there, right? It lines up perfectly. So not saying we're going to head there, just noting that, this is the areas to be concerned with if you start losing levels to the downside. As far as upside, very simple, 1651, close above that on a 4-hour time frame, and we're probably looking up. And all right, let's see. The other ones we want to take a look at, Chainlink. All right, so I want to point out, right, Bitcoin ran into major resistance, Ethereum's running into major resistance, right? Taking a look at Chainlink next. I got some exciting, movement out of that. We were covering this the other day, right? So we had Chainlink, small range as well, basically rotating. We had this at the time. This was an untapped weekly we were targeting. It was also the golden pocket. Obviously met that, claimed it, and onward and upward. Basically just ran it up and rotated the range now. So we're at the value area high, wick through it. And at the moment, you would imagine you're probably going to see a pullback, right? So taking a look at RSI, you're at about 75.80. And in the short term, you would be anticipating at least coming back down to the 763. And then for any more upside, you really want to see 816 basically claimed. Right now, this is the 4-hour time frame, basically just wick through. Obviously, we got another hour and 20 minutes before this one closes. But if we don't start claiming that level, we're probably going to have a little pullback area, right? So local golden pocket on this probably takes us back down, even possibly to, you're talking, depending on how you want to pull it, right? So you got basically just drops us down to the quarterly VWAP. If you're going to go from the recent low to high, basically all the way back down your point of control, which is your volume target. So, very, very possible to come back down and tag some of these levels, not really breaking anything. Nothing would be out of the, ordinary. It would just be causing some concern for anybody FOMOing in at these regions, right? Because that's going to be a pretty substantial pullback if had. It's about 15%, 10, 12%. And that's about, as simple as it can get right now for, you're in a position where you don't want to be buying into resistance. So you want to be looking for those pullback areas. And then aside from that, if you do actually get this flip, right, come up and take this 814, 815, that's what I'll be looking at, and start running it up towards this untapped weekly at 876. Overall, your untapped quarterly up here about $10 as well. All right. Little news, right? So just not going to go through this article, but just want to showcase what the media is throwing out there, right? BNB jumps to new Bitcoin all-time highs, right? As Elon Musk Twitter fuels Doge. Pretty much, I think that Binance essentially helped, Elon fund the buyout of Twitter. And that's making headlines now as Doge and everything is kind of, had a nice move. Showing on it.
Max's dog was in the background. He's got a wiener dog, guy. He's got a sausage dog. So
I was I'm recording this on my phone for TikTok, and it's in another room. So I was like, oh, did my dog just knock it over? Yeah.
There he is. Look at that. It's a good looking dog.
Dude, let's get a zoom in on that guy. Is that is he got a crypto name?
No.
Is that Doge?
Traditional dog name.
Dude, he's Doge. Look at him. Nice. Does he vape?
Huh? No.
Does he vape?
No. Nobody vape.
All right. He's the vape prince now to me. But yeah, that's Chainlink. So
Twin called out the SFP as it occurred. If you look at the order flow, it was pretty tasty. Let me just pop my screen up. Sorry.
pull it up, yeah.
Let me go to this one. You had a ton of shorts piling in. This candle started really rather bearish, but you did have some buyers coming towards the bottom that made the delta somewhat equal. But you can see there, that last one, as you took the low, you had really stagnant open interest. So what I mentioned at the top, up there, where we were talking about positions changing hands, you had negative 1.5 million delta in that candle. So, anyone that bought here and put their stop loss just below the low, they did get stopped out, but their positions didn't just, fade away. Someone definitely took their positions over. And then you've got the buying imbalances pushing you up here. Now, what you need to see here is the buying continued. The volume's really weak in this next candle, which is a shame because, it is an SFP and it looks good. But you need to see the buyers continue to come in and push it again back above that Asia low, which was at 420,000. Yeah, 425. If it can get above that, like this was the best entry you could have possibly asked for in this region. Like literally super simple SFP, positions changing hands, exactly what you want to see, or one of the ways that you want to see an SFP occur is positions changing hands. Obviously, the guys in the group know that. And yeah, so let's see how this plays out. If the buying continues to come in, if we get above, well, we're above this candle now where, a lot of open interest came in and it was majority shorts on the market side marketing in. So the more we can linger above this, the more these guys, you have to think about the psychology of it. When you're in a trade and it suddenly gets put underwater, how do you feel personally? Well, the people that have entered short here, they're currently going through the paces thinking, fuck, I shouldn't swear. They're thinking, God damn, have I made a mistake here? And as the price goes higher, aims towards that 425 region, they'll start to close their positions, and ultimately that will push the price up. So, yeah, it's looking good for the SFP there. So, yeah, good shout on that one, Twin.
The daily Val lines up with the Asia low now, the developing daily.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, actually. I've got it on as a weekly on another chart. I think it's this one here on Scalpay. Yeah, the Val. So it's all in that region. Really needs to be claimed. If it is claimed, I did just take along personally. So if it is claimed, quids in.
Quids in.
So I should say, Isaac, you're all right. Gosh darn.
Yeah. Gosh darn it.
No more swearing on streams.
Hey man, we're on Elon's world now. We can do it.
Got anything left for us, man? Anybody have any questions in the chat? Anything they want us to take a look at? You've got us for probably like another 5 to 8 minutes here.
5 to 8. I do have to cover BNB real quick, actually. So
go for it.
Sorry to jump in.
I did the news of it, and then we were just like, oh, that's Chainlink. All right, so how do you take off yours? Boom. Okay. Got the likes. Okay, so obviously, right, going off the BNB news, everyone hit the likes for the amazing analysis and for the dog faces. We're here for the dogs and the bucket hats, if you haven't noticed. BNB versus BTC. That hairline, man, it's looking fresh. They just want to point this one out, right? This is the headline that's going around, right? Is that the versus BTC pair is making a new all-time high, right? So BNB is not making a new all-time high, but in the price action versus Bitcoin, obviously, as we're coming into the levels we are versus USD, essentially, in BNB, Bitcoin is worth less than it was when BNB was at these prices before, right? So you've got, definitely do have a all-time high coming in for this. And at that point, right, you really want to start looking at like, what would you be targeting in the sense of that, right? So I'm not sure of many people that are trading or, investing off of, versus Bitcoin. And I say that I know there's plenty, just I personally don't do it. anymore. Back in the day, that's all you could trade or do anything off of, was everything was versus BTC. There was not a USD pair. There was, you had to do the SAT calculator for everything you did to figure out where you were going to take profit at, or if you were going to even sell at profit or loss there. But looking at this just as a simple range, you broke out of the range here, got the back test, right? Where would you be targeting at this point? Well, I would throw on a couple of fibs here, right? You're coming right into the 1618, which is a major target in my opinion. Breaching through here and closing above, obviously you got the 2 and the 272, but getting a pullback in this region is very likely, right? So, and then you also got the RSI, pretty heated as well at the moment. So really going to depend on how the rest of the market kind of reacts today. Where would you be looking for this to kind of pull back into? Well, if you come back in, you could get a back test of the range here, all the way back at almost 0.015, right? And right now we're at 0.016, so 0.16 with a 0, I guess. So 0.015 would be the back test of the range here. However, you got a golden pocket that lines up right with the point of control. If you re-enter this range, on the other hand, though, and you come back down to this point of control, that's not the most bullish thing, and you may end up actually rotating this range all the way back down, coming back down to this peak right here. So that's just something to be aware of. And now looking at BNB in a sense of where we're at against USDT in the range. All right, so kind of zoom this in a little bit. You're coming up basically right to towards the value area high. So you're basically rotating the range in full here coming up. So major resistance is overhead. It's about $20 from where we are right now. Obviously, you can front run that a little bit, but do be aware of that. Your macro golden pocket as well. So big resistance coming in basically right at 355 to 363. Pushing through that, the yearly key level was going to be a major pivot for future here. So 413. But yeah, just kind of being, cautious that we may come up into this region and get a pullback, just as much as anything else in the market at this point. We had some really, really decent moves last week. We do have some pretty big policy news that's going to be coming into play. Whether or not that makes the market just take a turn for the worst or anything like that, generally we see at least a day or two where we get some fluctuation. So just kind of keep all that in mind, right, for this week. Definitely wouldn't be chasing something like this anyhow, unless you start getting confirmation above, that value area high, 356. I mean, it's only like a few percentage from where we are now. This is a large cap, right? So difference between like chasing something that's up 150%, even if you're chasing, BNB, Ethereum, some of these when they're pushing 30%, that's a lot of movement for some of these larger caps, right? So just do be aware of that. Doge, what would a pullback on Doge? I'm glad you asked. So Doge was something I was looking at for quite some time on a very technical basis. And once again, just kind of lining up how the news, where, this time around is, I guess, Elon buying Twitter is a pretty big news catalyst, I think, for, things of that he represents and I guess, showcases for. So either way, though, we were living outside this range. And essentially, I was looking for acceptance back into this region at 0.082. So we got that. And then from there, major target is going to be your volume target up here at the point of control, 14 cents. And then we had our weekly just above that. So we obviously came up, met those regions. And if you look really closely, right, like not even really closely, just you're getting a little flag action right now, but you're just really wicked through this region. So anybody that's looking at this in the short term, for upside, you really got to clear this point of control on a closing basis, and even just on a 4 hour. And you can see what I mean here, right? You got wicks. It's coming up and start closing, get the back test. That's what you want to see for continuation. We'd probably be looking back up towards the yearly open and the range high. Otherwise, a pullback, honestly, I would be anticipating, you could get something all the way back down towards the low. You got the gold pocket. And once again, that would probably imply that we're getting a market pullback in general, right? That's a pretty big move. That'd be like a 40% pullback. However, we did just see 175% impulse. So a 40% pullback, while it would hurt, it wouldn't be necessarily breaking anything. You'd still come in, you still have your, a new higher high, your higher low at the time, and then you'd see how things play out from there. This is your golden pocket. We do have a major daily level there as well. So this would be the area. Not to say that it's got to come back to that region either. You got the monthly key level just below this, which is also your quarterly key level as well. It wasn't untapped monthly, so that's been met. But this is a really high time frame average of price for Doge. So this is a really important level to be staying above. It's basically right at 10 cents. So just in this region, which we've already kind of made our way down towards this daily, anyways. But this would be the fresh entry idea as far as anything to the downside, and then we start cracking up, claim that 14 cents, and then we'd be looking up from there.
I think we got one more chart request, and that's near. If you want to cover that one real quick, just briefly.
Heard that. I hope you guys like the thumbnail today. So
it's a solid thumbnail. It's a solid
awesome job. Even the Bieber looking.
Got that square head, man. Got the hair. He's got the great hair.
Honestly, you know how many people over here, because you have a lot like Filipino and like Thai, literally when I'll be walking down the street and they'll shout Justin Bieber and I just like crawl on my arms. I swear to God, it's the most embarrassing thing.
Walking around in Dubai,
I think you're a lot taller than
Justin
him, though, aren't
Bieber.
you?
Has to be
way taller. I think he's your height.
He's like 5'7". He's like an inch taller than me. Yeah.
Tom Cruise?
No, Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise, but Justin Bieber's like 5'7" or 5'8", and you're like what, 6'1"?
6'2".
He's 6'2". Look at that. Get the ruler out though. You know how guys lie about their height.
You're 6'2", bro,
and a half and a bit. So you just round it up, don't you?
How tall is MM Crypto in the moon?
The moon is really small. I've actually never seen MM Crypto in person. But yeah, the moon's
call your neighbor. Are you guys doing trick-or-treating tonight or no?
He's no longer my neighbor, but God, that would be funny to see him trick-or-treating.
Driving around his Bugatti, that'd be sweet. All right, near. Near is one that I hold near and dear, right? So I've been picking up near pretty heavily in a spot position around the lows here, and then taking some short-term moves. There's a gentleman in the group. He's in the chat right now, T-Bone, and the amount of time that Magic puts into Bitcoin, the amount of time that I put into all these altcoins, and the amount of time that Max puts into order flow and open interest, this guy T-Bone puts all that into several altcoins as well, but he does a very good job of basically identifying everything you need to know for near. That's his project. He's really attached to, not emotionally, but just in the sense of being able to identify the levels and trading it pretty accurately. He does a really good job. Posts pretty actively in the group about it. So for me though, it's a pretty simple area here too, right? Just really looking at the end of the day, you really want to come up and claim basically 345 in the short term. Right now we're at 307. We're really just hitting our head on this daily level. 318, clearing that, looking at the quarterly point of control here. Got a really major level up here, which is the current golden pocket. I'm sorry, this was the golden pocket we ran it up into. So this daily level though does hold a lot of weight. This is where we've come up to and found a lot of support and resistance across the board. But still, if you remember from the Q2 update that I did for near, we identified that there's a really, really big opportunity here. Whether or not we get it is the question. There's obviously some pit stops along the way. But if we were to rotate this range in full, that would be pretty monstrous move, right? This is a 200 to 300% gain. And that's no leverage, right? Like you don't have to be leverage to the tits on this one, right? So this is a 325% move. If you run it to the value area high, to the point of control is 261%. That's from where we are right now. Obviously, if you've been picking up around the lows, it's a little bit better risk to reward in that ratio, but you're still basically hovering around the lows here. So really nice, clear invalidation, meaning, where we're wrong is when, and when you want to cut your move here is when you start breaking below and closing below this, 286. Start closing 4 hours, dailies, things that genre, really start breaking this low. That's when we're probably going to continue to the downside. But for now, I mean, a little pullbacks possibly, in the cards, just as anything else right now. Aside from that, still really looking onward and upward for near. T-Bone is a charting beast. Gonna have to bring T-Bone on the stream one day. All right. I think that's about all we got. Yeah, that's about all the time we had. Definitely covered, I feel, a good amount of information here, trying to give you the most, value for your time here. So, not trying to crowd you out with a 2-hour stream. We'd like to have some fun, obviously, along the way. But yeah, so if you got any requests, we do have the Leading Crypto Discord server. Obviously, the information on how to join that is below. There is a free public area where, you can come in, you can make requests. We're obviously very active and interactive in the group there. So if you'd like to see anything, broken down, even as far as some stocks would go, we don't do a ton of, stock market analysis, but we will do, some of the key major points. We're not going to do, random, stocks, but if it's something that's, pretty major and beneficial to, the community, we'll definitely take a look at it. If it's something that's, making some major headlines, things of that nature, we'll take a look at it as well. Obviously, we keep an eye on a finger on the trigger on the S&P, and some of those is, we actually have a few guests coming on this week that have a little bit more, gumption towards the stock market than we kind of pay attention for. And it's going to be a nice collab. Tomorrow, actually, we have Gareth Soloway coming on the day before the FOMC meeting. And then later on this week, Magic can kind of go into who we got coming on after that.
Kenneth Suna. So we'll have Ken on. Ken is I'm going to say he's a legendary investor, because like this guy has not had a job since like his 20s probably. And he lives off of dividends and investments. So I'm going to bring him on and try to get him to go over, how do you even start analyzing a stock, not just from a TA standpoint, but, looking at the balance sheet, looking at, what matters in these sectors, and how do you find these not projects, these assets, mainly because we want to make sure that you guys know that we do support a diversified portfolio, because that is something that's necessary. You can't just be risk on all the time. So diversification, a little extra knowledge doesn't hurt. So we're going to try to make sure that we're keeping the guest relevant to kind of what we're already talking about, which is, trading and investing. So.
Exactly.
Another thing, I've got one more thing. On Wednesday, after the morning stream, I'm going to be moving the live trading session to around the FOMC. So we're going to cover the FOMC on Wednesday's live trading session. So it'll be a late one for me. Probably start around an hour before, and then cover it and maybe half an hour after. So Wednesday's live trading session will cover the FOMC. I thought it'd be, it'll bring some volatility rather than the range bound action that normally comes before. So it's in the
Very
group
nice.
for that. Yeah,
perfect. So once again, if you'd like access to our live trading sessions, we do cover that exclusively for members in the Leading Crypto Discord server. We do that 3 times a week, a couple of member exclusive market updates as well every Wednesday and Sunday night after the weekly close. And otherwise, you can catch us here every morning, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Like I said, we got a couple of guests, so make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. We'll be streaming it on TikTok as well. And I think that's about all we got for everybody. So enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in this beautiful world on this lovely Halloween afternoon. And until next time, everybody, vape them if you got them. Cheers.
Oh, man.